Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with pure soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars, and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Tina Helmuth is writing an ongoing series of fact-fiction books that boldly takes on today's most heinous crimes, the abduction, sexual trafficking, and cannibalization of our children. Suffer the Little Children, The Wrath of the Father, and Unbreakable. Available at lulu.com in paperback or ebook.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can reach me through Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com. Now, if you like today's show, check out our members section at oppermanreport.com, where we have all kind of exclusive content. And if you want to check out our free archives, you go to Spreaker.com. You go there for free, sign up for free. There's a chat room, and you get an email notification anytime we have a live broadcast. We got an excellent special guest today, Stephen Hoffenberg. Stephen Hoffenberg used to be the CEO for the New York Post. He was also involved with this Tower Investments, and he employed Jeffrey Epstein. He likes to call himself the mentor of Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Hoffenberg, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, I know that you've been participating in this project, this book called Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales. And it reveals the information about how Epstein was involved in spies, lies, and blackmail. And you're the source for this book?
I'm quoted in the book on many pages, maybe 6 or 7 pages, as to my history of hiring Epstein, working with Epstein, and making him his first fortune illegally. When I was the chief executive officer of the Towers Financial Corporation, a large public company that employed Jeffrey Epstein, and that was at the time frame that I took over the New York Post newspaper as well.
Well, before we get into that, tell us about yourself, Stephen Hoffenberg. Tell us about yourself.
I'm a businessman that has a background in finance and law in the collection agency business, and I've been entrepreneurial my entire career, over 4 decades. And I was able to grow a company called Towers Financial from a small company to $1.5 billion in actual collections a year, $30 million a week, $1.5 billion a year. And that's where Epstein made his first criminal fortune that seeded everything taking place today about Jeffrey Epstein. That company had 2 pools of money. It had the $1.5 billion a year that it recovered in collections, and it had $1 billion, just about $1 billion, that it raised from the sale of securities by Epstein's extraordinary talents. So you're talking about the company's ability to handle $2.5 billion, which is first being explained now. And I was the person in charge of that group of companies as the chief executive officer, and they were owned. The ownership of those companies was the public for the debt, meaning the bonds and the notes that were sold for $1 billion, and also other stockholders, including myself. So we did quite a job, and Epstein became the important part of the business. So please continue.
Well, okay, a couple of things. I'd like to know, how old are you today? How old were you when you came into contact with Epstein? And what year was it when you came in contact with Epstein?
Today I'm 74, age 74. And I came in contact with Epstein on or about 1987. But I was in contact with his employer of the years since he left Bear Stearns, his largest client, for several years before 1987. His largest client at that time was Douglas Lease for the J. Epstein and Company and for International Asset Collections, that both of those groups became Financial Trust Company, which became the Jeffrey Epstein criminal enterprise.
Can you tell us how Epstein came from this Brooklyn high school he dropped out at, what was it, NYU, and then went to work at the Dalton School without a college degree, and then wound up pretty much a partner at Bear Stearns? How did that meteoric rise come about?
Epstein had an extraordinary gift in mathematics, wherein he was an expert without question. And very often in academia, your expertise being through college and university after college, or practical accomplishments like Bill Gates, are respected. And the Dalton School respected Jeffrey Epstein's unbelievable brilliance in mathematics and brought him on as a lower level to just see if he could help guide the students. And that's why he had that opportunity, because they saw that his academia side of the page was extraordinarily brilliant when he attended classes, even though he didn't continue. And that's one of the driving insecurities that made Epstein what he became, his insecurities and his ego. But his time in academia was excellent. He was a terrific academic and a brilliant man in mathematics. So Dalton took advantage of that. And when they brought him in, he really shined. He did a great job at Dalton.
Even with that brilliance, okay, we know today that he used blackmail and extortion and these tactics and his ability to procure these young ladies, these young girls, and put them use them as a commodity. Do you believe that he was using this prior to you meeting him, that he was using these tactics in his life?
He was planning his use of the spying and the seduction for blackmailing when he was with me. He was creating his game plan at that time, and he was starting to negotiate and employ the first steps of his criminality, because he was doing that side of securities violations when he was with me. So the answer is yes. There was no question that was Epstein's plan when we were together.
And when you were together, were you aware of him using these tactics, or they were all in the planning stages? He confided in you that this was his plan?
He totally confided in me because I was with him regularly, interacting with him daily for years. And he considered me a friend, and he trusted me, and we trusted each other. I didn't know that he was seducing me and manipulating me as well, and setting me up at the same time to take his fall for him. So the answer is yes to that question as well.
But just a question popped into my head. I recently had a conversation with a young model, and she was dating Woody Allen, and she was an assistant for Epstein. I think her name is Eklund or something like that, or Eckhart. Are you familiar with her?
Well, I can tell you the names of his closest people. Was she a victim or was she a co-conspirator?
She doesn't feel she's either case. She says that she dated Woody Allen when she was 16. She was the character in the movie Manhattan, the young girl, the Mariel Hemingway character in real life. And she worked as an assistant for Epstein. And she tells me she wasn't aware of this kind of interest, that he didn't have this interest at the time. And she didn't feel like she was a victim of Woody Allen either. Is that possible?
Well, the actual assistants of Epstein at that time were Sarah Kellen, Adriana Ross, Leslie Groff, Nadina Makakova. Those were Epstein's key assistants. She probably worked under one of those persons in the office. Okay. So she wouldn't work directly with Epstein. The co-defendants that I just named are the people that actually participated in the crimes that will soon be arrested in the Southern District of New York. So the lady you're talking about may have been in the office, but she wasn't a major participant in the Epstein crimes. So she's probably right in what she's saying. She would not know. Because Epstein stayed with Sarah, Adriana, Leslie, Nadia, and Maxwell 100%. Maxwell was his main confidant, and every one of the girls in the office had to answer to Maxwell, to Christine Maxwell. She was the boss.
Mm.
That's how it operated.
And do you believe that Epstein had this interest in young girls all back to the Dalton School?
Yes, and I didn't, in my prior explanations of Epstein, get into much detail about that because I didn't want to take the risk of getting ahead of the investigation.
Right.
Because I'm in a funny spot as a witness because I am a primary witness to many of what Epstein did in crimes and to the spying. They try to recruit me to espionage. So I had to be very careful about what I said to the media about my past. This book changed everything for me in the last week because it brought forth a whole new dynamic of exposing the espionage and the spying by Mrs. Maxwell, her father, Robert Maxwell, and Jeffrey Epstein. Everything changed now, so I'm comfortable that I'm not ahead of the investigation any longer, and I can now validate the spying and the crimes, the money crimes and the sex crimes, because I was a witness.
Right.
So the answer is yes again.
And I can testify to that. I can confirm that because we have had prior discussions, a late night phone call where you told me, hey, I can't talk about anything because now I'm going to be a witness in all this. I'm cooperating with the SDNY. Now, do you believe that anyone who's had a relationship with Epstein way back from Dalton till today could have been unaware about his interest and his activity with these young girls?
I don't believe at that early hour, which was his first spot in academic work, that he would have divulged that. I want to correct one point, small point. When we spoke, I said I was about to consider cooperating with the Southern District of New York,
okay.
And I did work in a requirement under law attached to my conviction for 3 years in explaining Epstein to the people in the Southern District of New York between 2013 and 2016. I did that function. So I just want to be concise and careful because I am a witness. So please continue.
Real quick, were you ever contacted with the Mueller investigation?
I had some brief interaction with some of the folks involved in that. Yes.
Okay. Brief. Yeah. Okay. Again, brief. Do you find it odd that Mueller wasn't interested in looking into that area of President Trump's life?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I find it odd because President Trump made $50 million in an Epstein deal, which I find very strange. And the Russians were in the deal. And I find it unique that that wasn't brought forward. Maybe it's in the part that the public hasn't seen. And maybe Mueller didn't understand it because it was a complicated deal with Abe Gossman, President Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein. And they orchestrated this $50 million profit for President Trump very, very well. But he made that money. And I'm sure if Mueller understood it chapter and verse, that would have been a key point of the Mueller investigation. Because $50 million profit by President Trump's a lot of money.
Has that been reported anywhere? Has that been reported anywhere else before today?
That's been reported a drop, not much. There was a little bit of coverage about it, and Acosta covered it up, who knew all about it. And that should have come out. And that's part of what Acosta lied to the U.S. Congress about. because he knew about the $50 million and the Russian and Abe Gossman and Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump. And he also knew that Epstein was a spy for the Israeli folks.
Yeah, he actually said that publicly, yeah. Now, we're going all over the place, okay? But there's just so much here you're giving us. Real quick, what can you wait, let me say this, okay? Now, you at one time, you ran a PAC for Trump's election. Where do you stand today in supporting or not supporting Trump?
I'm not in that side of politics any longer. I can't be doing that any longer because now I'm exposing the Epstein crimes, which conflicts with supporting a candidate. And I am exposing the issues about President Trump and Epstein if they're dramatic enough to be media worthy. And $50 million of profit is media worthy in understanding the details of that. And we are covering a lot of ground, but there's a lot of ground that has occurred in the Epstein crimes of the century. It's the biggest crimes of the century.
What can you tell us about the relationship between Epstein and Michael Cohen?
There was a relationship in business between Epstein and Michael Cohen, and the public doesn't know much about it. And that was in the real estate side and the investment side that Michael Cohen did with Epstein. And Michael Cohen tried to bring that forward to some degree, but only 25% of what actually happened has come into the public picture. It hasn't come into the picture yet, but it will now. The spying will change everything now that it's exposed properly. Because the public wants to know about the spying. Acosta couldn't cover up or shouldn't have covered up the spying. He gave Epstein a pass and a no prosecution agreement for Epstein, for Sarah Keller, for Adriana Ross, for Leslie Groff, for I think also Maxwell, and for Nadia Malsakova, or for future co-conspirators. That's unheard of. And that was all done because of the Israeli spying by Epstein that's in this book.
Let me ask you a question now, because now I can imagine, because I know when my involvement came out, I was contacted by everybody, NPR, Business Insider, all these magazines, UK magazines, BBC. So I'm sure you're talking to the same people I've talked to, probably 100 times more. Now, do you have any confidence in the ability of these reporters out there to get this real story out, or are they too naive and it's just way over their head?
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question. The reporters would have to take a lot of time to go through the research needed to understand the deep part of what Epstein did in the spying, the blackmail, and what happened with Michael Cohen, with President Trump, with the Israelis, the Russians. I think it's over their head today. But your role could be very important in explaining all of this with the appropriate people being interviewed by you.
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is very important.
I'm ready. You send them to me, and we'll put that together. Now, what about Schiff?
Well,
go ahead.
I'm willing to enlighten you about Darren Indyke and how the Southern District of New York is being obstructed by Darren Indyke controlling the $600 million and moving it to St. Thomas, and how the Southern District of New York could seize the $600 million. And that's a very important component of where your work could go, to seize the $600 million away from Darren Indyke, who's part of the spying for the last 20 years, who's now running the money because they signed the trust will agreement 2 days before Epstein's death in prison.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Now, what about Schiff and Nadler, this impeachment hearings? Are you having any contact with them? Are you sharing information with them?
I had some contact, brief contact with friends of Schiff, supporters of Schiff, and I talked to some people regularly that talk to the supporters of Schiff. So I haven't told them this story yet. I'm sure they would love for me to give them chapter and verse, but I'm not going to just go under oath and do that. Because if you make a mistake under oath, that's perjury.
Right.
So I would have to have an agreement to protect myself. It's very risky for a witness to start to talk to regulators because everything you say, you are locked into. Wherein it's different if you're not sworn in under testimony. But if you make an error being sworn in under testimony without immunity, you're stuck.
I got you.
You're really stuck.
Let me ask a question. How does Roger Stone fit into all of this?
Roger Stone was somebody doing the research with me in all of this since 2015, 2016, 2017. We worked together on all of this. And I stopped in 17 because that's when he got into a lot of trouble with Mueller, and his arrest came in 19 or 18, and he went into a very difficult dive, and it didn't work out for him, and he was found guilty.
Right.
And his approach, I perpetually said to him he was wrong with WikiLeaks and that he shouldn't have done what he did. He tried to get me to participate with him in WikiLeaks, and I refused to participate in what he did. So that's also another sensitive area. And I feel very bad for Roger Stone, who wrecked his life and his wife's life.
Yeah.
So it's a sad story, but I was deeply involved with him.
Did he have any involvement with Tower Financial?
Say that again, sir?
Roger Stone, did he have any involvement with Tower Financial?
He wanted to write a book about it, and he started that research with me and other writers in order to participate in what occurred in the whole history of Towers Financial and Epstein and the spying. He wanted to understand that and write a book about it, yes.
Okay. But not as an investor or a participant in the business?
No, because the business of Towers Financial stopped in the year 2000, the last week of 1999.
Right.
That stopped. So he didn't get involved in it earlier on before 2000. No.
Okay. Now, and the reason it stopped was there was an indictment or an arrest, and somehow Epstein skated on that, and you did not. You wound up doing 20 years?
Well, I was set up by Epstein.
Okay.
Indike, Acosta, Nardello, and Pripahara to take the rap for Epstein. So let's be understanding what occurred.
Okay.
Epstein got out of it because of Indike and Robert Gold, his lawyers at the time, who were also my lawyers at the time. That's the only reason Epstein got out of the crimes that occurred at Towers Financial, is because of Darren Indike and Robert Gold and Daniel Nardello, the prosecutor for Towers Financial, who was paid money. He was paid bribes from the trustee of Towers Financial with the help of Indike and also Gold, Robert Gold, Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. There were bribes paid.
Was there any
to get Jeffrey Epstein out?
Was there any kind of cooperation? Did he cooperate, give them information as well, or some kind of immunity deal, or was it all just bribery and he had the lawyers fix it?
There was no immunity in the Towers financial crimes. They interviewed him, but there was no immunity deal. In the Alex Acosta case in 2007 and 2008, there was a deferred prosecution agreement,
right,
which is a form of immunity later on because of the spying. So in the earlier case, which was in 94, there was no immunity for Epstein. That was complete manipulation by Epstein's team of lawyers, his A-team, who are involved today
right,
with the Epstein crimes. Today, they're in the cover-up, and they're the biggest problem for the Southern District of New York. Darren Hindike is the biggest problem today for the Southern District of New York in the Epstein crimes.
How so?
He's a number one problem.
How so?
He's paying the legal fees for Maxwell, Mrs. Maxwell, to Maxwell's attorney, Jeffrey Paluca. He's paying his legal fees for Maxwell, which is a horrifying event for the Southern District of New York, wherein the Epstein estate assets are being used to pay the legal fees for the Epstein co-conspirators at the Southern District of New York. It's horrifying. It's a terrible problem for the Southern District of New York.
Maxwell,
and that's not been out there yet.
Do you have any information of where Maxwell is and Brunel is?
Well, Brunel supposedly is in South America someplace. I believe Maxwell would be best served, based on her lawyer, Jack Paluca, being in Denver, to probably be in Texas, where she has some roots in the area.
Okay.
But that's a guess.
Yeah. And this information about South America for Brunel, that comes from John Dugan, the guy who's in Russia, the ex-cop from Florida who's in Russia. Is that where you're getting that from?
He's one of the sources.
Yeah.
And that have been picked up about where he is, yes.
Yeah, I've talked to him before. I talked to him before he ever said anything involved with Epstein. I asked him about Epstein. He said he didn't know anything. And then I've talked to him after he comes with this claim that he has this hard drive and all this stuff. I don't find him to be credible as far as that goes.
I don't think that he has showed any evidence yet, even though he claims to the media he showed some evidence that he has the hard drive. And if he had the hard drive in Russia, they would get it.
That's what I said. That's what I said, man, you know? Anyway, let's take a commercial break. We got to take a quick little commercial break here. We're with Stephen Hoffenberg, former CEO of the New York Post. The guy owned the New York Post, ran Tower Financial. He was Jeffrey Epstein's mentor. He's the source, one of the sources for this book here, Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Spies, Lies, and Blackmail. We'll be right back with more of Stephen Hoffenberg right after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Hey, check out our brand new sponsor, Dynamic Solutions 2. That's the number 2. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? You want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position, Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions. 424-888-2820. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. You get a 10% discount.
Hey, you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars, and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We have today Stephen Hoffenberg, okay, former CEO of the New York Post. He ran Tower Financial. He was the mentor of Jeffrey Epstein. Mr. Hoffenberg, I think that the biggest thing you want to come out, the information from this book, Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Spies, Lies, and Blackmail, is the connection to intelligence, which is Mossad?
It's definitely the Israelis. As far as saying it was Mossad, that's been reported, and that works as a definite link.
Okay.
Without a question, the answer would be yes.
When did you first become aware of this?
I was there overseas when they were doing the spying decades ago when it started. I worked, but I refused to be recruited, and Epstein solicited the recruitment. They tried to recruit me into the spying, and keep in mind that this all started in London and the Middle East, between Maxwell, the daughter, Maxwell Robert, the father, who was a master spy for Israel. There was no question of that. And Epstein befriended the two Israeli prime ministers,
right,
and the prime minister, Barak, who was a general and was a senior intelligence officer for Israel. And that became one of Epstein's closest friends. And keep in mind, Prince Andrew has been a target of Epstein for spying for a long time and has truly wrecked his platform in the royal family with Epstein. And Rudy Giuliani, also another name in the mix, was the Towers Financial Corporate Counsel, outside counsel.
Get out of here.
And, oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Get out of here, man.
I mean, the story is so deep. So when you say, does the media understand it?
Yeah, they can't.
I have not 25% understand it. There's 75% of the story missing. And this is the first time that I'm exposing what I know. I haven't done that before now.
And see, the problem,
I
too,
didn't want to do it.
Mr. Hoffenberg, the problem, too, is a lot of these reporters, they're easily fed disinfo from Israeli intelligence or whoever's out there. They're being fed all kinds of there's a lot of garbage out there about this story. There's just garbage.
There's no question, but you, with a podcast, proceeding in investigative reporting about Epstein, and with help from people that are part of the knowledge and evidence, you can bring a lot to the surface to the 75% of the media and public that's not known. And you should do it.
No,
you really should do it.
I'm here for you. Bring me what you got. Oh, how does now you're saying that Jeffrey Epstein, his original work with Israeli intelligence, that comes from Ari Ben Menashe that says that he was involved with Iran-Contra?
They have about 10 intelligence sources that name Epstein into the spying with Israel. There's more than Menashe. And Menashe was the handler for Robert Maxwell.
Right.
And there's no question to him. He's given a couple of interviews to people I know well, and I've heard a lot about his position. So the answer is there's over 10 sources in intelligence before prior intelligence officers that are available to confirm this in the CIA, in Israel, and in M16 as well.
Now, what about Adnan Khashoggi? How does he fit into all this?
He was a very good friend of mine.
Really?
Yeah, we were very well acquainted because Donald Nixon Jr., the nephew of Richard Nixon, worked as a vice president in California in marketing at Towers Financial. And Edward Nixon, the brother of the President Nixon, also, and John Mitchell worked with Jeffrey Epstein in the Pan Am attempt by Jeffrey Epstein, Abe Hirschfeld, and Towers Financial. So I knew Adnan Khashoggi at that time and met with him often. I knew his partner, who was a partner in Towers Financial, Douglas Leith, who was the CEO of the Epstein European client after he left Bear Stearns. So I was in that mix. I was at a number of those meetings where these folks were discussing the arms sales, which they completed. They did arms sales regularly. And that's what Epstein was also providing information about.
How extensive was the relationship between Donald Trump and Adnan Khashoggi?
They had a decent interaction as acquaintances. Maxwell and Donald Trump, Robert Maxwell and Donald Trump, had a good dialogue. Maxwell's daughter, Christine, had a good dialogue with Donald Trump after that. And Khashoggi was known by Trump. So I'm not saying they were close. But as you know, Trump bought Khashoggi's yacht for $30 million from the Khashoggi team. So they did business together.
And the relationship between Trump and Maxwell, Robert Maxwell?
There was a relationship, a decent friendship. They socialized together. that was a good bond.
How about the Clintons? How do they fit into all this?
Well, the Clintons were an important part of Jeffrey Epstein's life. He befriended both Bill and Hillary Clinton and did a lot of work in the creation of the Clinton Foundation model for the Clintons. Jeffrey Epstein's lawyers submitted a document to the Florida court in 2008, I believe it was, saying that Jeffrey Epstein was instrumental in the invention and creation of the Clinton Foundation. And that's part of the reason that Acosta should give him this no prosecution agreement. But since this has all come out and exploded, the Clintons have backstepped and have denied everything.
Yeah,
they'll continue to deny everything.
I actually have that 23-page letter written by Jerry Lefcourt in behalf of Epstein, claiming that he created the Clinton Foundation. I have it on my member section at OppermanReport.com. And when all this started blowing up, all these reporters never even heard of it. They were getting a copy of that letter from my website, man. Okay, because they had never even heard of it.
The reporters only understand 25% of the story. Yeah. Only 25% of the story's been told so far. The big story's first coming out right now.
Now, Epstein
hasn't come out yet.
Epstein had the wherewithal, he had the weight, the gravitas to blackmail people like the Clintons?
Yes, because he took the liberty to record the Clintons. And even though Brad Edwards, one of the lawyers for the victims, says Jeffrey Epstein told them he didn't record the Clintons, that's untrue. He did record the Clintons. So he had the traction to blackmail the Clintons. But there's more in blackmailing than one would think. Blackmailing means that he's gathering intelligence from Hillary and Bill Clinton that he could turn over to the Israelis,
right,
which he gathered all the time. So blackmailing is the intelligence gathering that Jeffrey Epstein did every day, literally every day, because he had open access to the Clintons.
Now, Mr.
And
Hoffenberg,
that hasn't been reported as to how Jeffrey Epstein used the intelligence. That's why 25% of the story is only out.
now,
But it's enormous.
you're right.
The 75% exposes a lot of politicians.
And celebrities too, as well. There's a whole list of celebrities. Now, if a man is working intelligence on a level where he's associated with the Clintons, Trump, Khashoggi, Prince Andrew, and that man has legal problems, and he winds up in MCC, isn't it possible he's friends with Giuliani, like you just said, that they could just walk him right out of there? Would they kill him or walk him out?
Well, in order to walk him out, the President of the United States would have to sign a document saying it's to the safety of the country, of present danger, to walk him out. You can't just walk out the crime of the century target and make believe he died. You would have to have a letter from the President of the United States saying that for the safety of the nation's security, this can't be exposed.
So
that's the rules.
What do you think happened? Do you think he was walked out or do you think he was killed?
You're asking me a very hot question. And a lot of people in the conspiracy side says that he was killed. A lot of people say he was walked out. I would say not as many say he was walked out. I've been asked that question repeatedly. Now, my opinion is not the issue because I can't validate my opinion with a source. But something's very confusing, that's for sure. And it's going to come out. It's going to come out.
And Mr. Hoffenberg, wouldn't you say that if you have every cartoonist making these memes out there saying that he was killed, that perhaps maybe that's a distraction to send us in the wrong way? Like a little PR stunt there kind of distracted us away from the walking out theory. You don't see these walking out memes, do you?
There is nobody using the walking out theory.
Yeah.
Today, in the 25% of the media that's reporting that small amount of the Jeffrey Epstein crimes, nobody's using the walking out theory right now.
Right. We've only got about 5 minutes left, okay? And like I said, you have an open invitation to come back anytime you like, okay? And I hope you do, and I think you will. If you want to bring me more sources like that, and we can do 3 ways, we can just do it one-on-one, whatever you like. But in this next 5 minutes, what would you like to leave us with?
I would like the public, via your effort and others, to learn 100% of the story. The missing 75% of the story needs to be told. And I would like the espionage part to be understood easily by the public, because now we have a different ballgame where we have allegations of espionage and spying that are validated by so many master spies.
Right.
And we must stop all cover-ups. We must expose the cover-ups. Now, I'm not putting blame on the Southern District of New York. I'm actually saying the Southern District of New York needs your assistance and my assistance in understanding the deep story of the cover-ups by Darren Indike, Jeffrey Epstein, Acosta, Nardello, Preet Bharara, Prince Andrew, Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump. There is a huge story here that has to be exposed. The Clintons, there is a huge story that has to be exposed. And you're on the right road to expose it. You definitely are. And your listeners need to hear what you have to say. You got to stay on your work product because you're doing a great job in exposing it.
I thank you very much. I appreciate that. The book is called Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Spies, Lies, and Blackmail. One of the main sources for that book is Stephen Hoffenberg. Mr. Hoffenberg, if people want to get a hold of you or follow what you're doing and stuff, is there any way you have any kind of a public platform, Twitter or something?
I would like them to contact you, Ed.
Okay.
And then through you, I'm happy to provide information and intelligence about what we're discussing today and what we will discuss in the future.
Excellent. I appreciate that. I think this is a good first introduction here to the audience, and we'll get into things more in depth, and we'll talk off the air and prepare a little bit more. Mr. Hoffenberg, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Ed.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Okay, there we had Stephen Hoffenberg, the source for this book, Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Spies, Lies, and Blackmail. Like I said, I've talked to him off the air before, and at one point he told me he couldn't come on the air because he was being a witness, he was cooperating. And I found a lot of new information out today, and I'm excited about this. And I think we'll be hearing a lot more from Mr. Hoffenberg, especially in the next couple of months. Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Spies, Lies, and Blackmail, and Walking Out of Jail. I said Epstein, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and Walking Out of Jail. That's what I think happened. So anyway, thank you so much, Mr. Stephen Hoffenberg from Tower Financials, and also to New York Post. Good night.
And now a word from our sponsors. OppermanReport.com. Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Do you like the work that you see us doing here at Opperman Report? You can support that work by becoming a member at OppermanReport.com. And as you have access to over 200 exclusive shows and interviews that you can't find on YouTube or Spreaker or iHeart or iTunes or KYAH. You can't find them anywhere else online, exclusive to our member sections, to our members. Also, too, there's images, videos, documents, court docs. And don't forget, you can hear your ad played here on the Opperman Report, reach hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis because the show is repeated every day all over the world. Contact me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and I'll give you a good deal on advertising rates.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Order today at PureSoapFlakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
Is your credit in bad shape? Do you need a new car? Ready to buy a new house? Do you want to rent an apartment? Are you going to apply for a job? Any one of these activities, they're going to ask for a credit report and then check out your credit score. Let Dynamic Solutions 2 erase your negative credit remarks. They offer a life-changing, dynamic financial solution. The finest in fast, professional, affordable credit repair. They have affordable monthly prices. They accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal options available. You go to www.dynamicsolutions2, that's the number 2.com, or call 424-888-2820. Now, if you enter promo code ED or you mention Ed Opperman, you get a 10% discount. How's that? You get a free consultation, all negative items removed, get back in positive credit position. Dynamic Solutions 2, life-changing dynamic financial solutions.
Hey, you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.